Who are you to not be amazing? Who are you to not go big? We're about to go big with album artwork. Once upon a time, when you went to the record store, the album artwork was your first glimpse into a band's image and what they were trying to say. You'd buy a CD, tape, or record from the store, and that might be your official soundtrack for the next few months. Or maybe you just listen to a hit single a few times and that's it. But without constant retreat into a smartphone, you would actually dive into the album artwork. You'd read the liner notes. Is album artwork even a relevant part of today's music industry? I don't know. It doesn't matter. What does matter right now is this big five. Now, I'd like to include my favorite album artwork, possibly of all time, Stone Temple Pilots' Purple by Dale Sizer. This is just a little note here. I think this album artwork is phenomenal. The guy's a great artist. It's one of my personal favorites, but it's not in this big five. But I just wanted to throw that out there before I jumped in. We'll start out with the Hitchhiker Award though, because there's some sort of law in the books, much like the Yankees, but you must include the Beatles on any sort of list about music. In 1963, Meet the Beatles was the second album released by the Beatles in the US, with the runaway hits I Want to Hold Your Hand and I Saw Her Standing There. The album design isn't the zany, big smile, action shot, suit wearing type of photos you think of with like Buddy Holly, Elvis, what's going on in the era. This album cover is the band shown in a somewhat intellectual tone, just their half-shadowed faces disappearing into a black background. The photo was taken by Robert Friedman. It's something you might find more with the likes of like metal bands or bands trying to look mysterious, edgy, dark. Pretty sure Metallica's used this one back in the day. But then there's something slightly goofy here too. 3 of the band members are spaced in a horizontal line going back, but it's like they were positioned perfectly for the shot while Ringo was in the bathroom or something, because he's out of line. He's out of place. He's pushed down below. Ironically, as the drummer, his presence disrupts the rhythm, the flow of the composition. It's not weighted correctly, but as we come to find out, there's always something wacky going on with their shots. I'm saying this one takes the Series Award for being the most recognizable. It might just be me, but at minimum, an entire generation can't see George Malay's Trip to the Moon without thinking of the Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, released in 1995. Everything about this album is over the top. It's a double album. It had outdo the masterpiece of Siamese Dream before it. An actual orchestra was brought into recording. The motif and album artwork had to be huge as well. The design of the artwork was created by Billy Corgan, who made stick figure type scribbles and sent them to graphic designer John Craig, who executed the design and illustrations, which encapsulate sort of a Victorian Renaissance Alice in Wonderland type motif in an outer space setting. There's an entire booklet of animals in various settings and celestial graphics, but the most iconic element, of course, sits on the cover, which is a woman popping out of a star. The woman is actually a photo bash of a couple of Renaissance masterpieces. The body is taken from Raphael's painting of St. Catherine of Alexandria, and the head is taken from Jean-Baptiste Greuze's The Souvenir. If you see this out in the wild on a shirt or something, you know immediately what it is. The Genesis Award on this list for early examples of great graphics and illustrations in album art is 1969's Santana. It's an angry lion with other inner designs. It was executed by Lee Conklin. This dynamic illustration has elements we might find in Gustave Doré's woodcuts. While Conklin was also known for his psychedelic posters, this album cover for Santana is the most well-known and timeless. I remember my parents had this record, and I just remember being very young and rifling through their albums just to look at the cover art. And they had this record, and the lion looked so freaky, and it looked like it said Satan to me instead of Santana. So between the artwork of Stephen Gamble and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, it's amazing I ever slept. This video's Bigfoot Award goes to Brute, aka Aiden Hughes, the artist of pretty much every KMFDM album cover I can think of. If we have to single one out, I'll just say Symbols. The band comes out of Germany, and Hughes' style on album artwork is heavily influenced by the first wordless novels that were big in Germany in the silent era, film era from the 1920s, and later in German propaganda art. But the style is very dynamic usually in nature and consists of black, white, and maybe one or two other colors in a hard hard contrast to one another. There's no bleeding, there's no shading, just a hard strike. The style stands out and makes for an amazing body of work. Given that during the pioneering of the style in the 1920s, going into the 30s in Germany, you have the Bauhaus, which clean lines, efficiency, mimicry of machinery, and giving a mechanized look to art was very in fashion. So it's fitting that the band is part of the industrial genre and use this very hard mechanized style of artwork consistently. Last up with the Sunday Deluxe is A Tribe Called Quest with 1996's Beats, Rhymes, and Life. The album artwork and character on the cover was created by Gene Kelly, a member of Zoombart, which was Jive Records' in-house graphic design team. The character, which is comprised of black, green, and red Africa-style striping, was the cover branding for the group over the span of 3 albums, starting with The Low End Theory, and where the first iterations of the character were a photo that's sort of been striped over. Beats, Rhymes, and Life's cover character is drawn and placed in the setting of a destroyed city, illustrated in more of a comic book style. Colors are vivid. The interior and back artwork include multiple of these characters. Additionally, I don't still have the album in my possession, but I recall maybe the first presses or early on, the cover was also like a double sort of image where if you look at it from a certain angle, it's different than when you tilt it, like a holographic sort of image. It wasn't shiny, but it was like the kind where if you run your fingernails over it, it's bumpy and rigid. And so that's album artwork. That's big in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out some more artwork out there from very talented, amazing artists right now. If you enjoyed this, give a like, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.